This is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
And I'm Giff.
All right, and what are we in? 1986. We're kicking it off, really, because we did all the drafts last week, but now we're getting into the good stuff.
Yeah.
Gifford, you're going to be in charge tonight. But before so, I want to just throw out a couple of shout-outs, mentions of stuff we've appreciated. So the Children of the 80s, of course, you know, one of our favorites. We just love them so much.
Mm-hmm.
Put out a poll for our hair metal draft. And if you combine everything, it's probably not quite as bad. But if you go on Twitter, we kind of ran away with that one, Giff.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
We ended up tied, you and me, with the most votes, which always feels good.
Yeah.
So that was pretty fun. And it sounds like, so this episode, you won't hear for like a week. But as of the recording of this, it sounds like they're going to be heavily bringing up that poll tomorrow on their show. So that'll be fun to listen to.
Yeah.
You know, in this reverse time warp of podcast land.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Also on Facebook, there were many comments. I wish we could get some more of those comments on our stuff. But there's a listener, Troy, who listens to both shows, apparently, so we appreciate him. But he just made the nicest comment, I thought, he said that we have such great chemistry, the two podcasts together. And that just made my day, because we have so much fun with them. And so to get that feedback is great. Because I could record with those guys every week. It's so great.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of, we're going to record with Lindsay next week. We got another one coming up.
We sure are. It's going to be a great one. I also wanted to shout out again, you know, in podcast land, you know, our time is different, but our good friend Johnny did drop his hashtags for a Deadpool today.
Good ones.
A lot of great ones. He, of course, professes his love as a Petester, and we appreciate that as well. So thank you, Johnny, as always, for putting out those hashtags. They certainly brighten my day. And you always seem to find just those right moments, those poignant moments in every episode with those hashtags you put out.
Well, why don't we just share what he wrote this time? So
yes. Yeah,
you might have listened to Deadpool just last week.
Yeah.
And these are the hashtags that Johnny wrote. He was hashtag forced to listen to the episode and hashtag I liked it, referring to me, referring to the movie.
Yeah.
Hashtag Frankenstein story, hashtag Wade Wilson. Can't miss that one. Hashtag anti-Tommy Kramer. Hashtag fetching. Hashtag real heroes. Hashtag English teacher. Hashtag Ronnie Millsap.
Ronnie Millsap. You can't miss that one.
Hashtag witty writing. Hashtag Dutch oven. I don't remember that one, actually.
That was the Meredith Baxter Burney Dutch oven.
Okay. Hashtag sucker for Flo Rida. Hashtag sucker for what Vanessa is wearing. Hashtag Hot Pocket. And proud to be a hashtag Petester. Great finish. Yes. Pete's memory still alive here at PCY.
Yes.
And if all goes according to the plan that we think it's going to, he will be back with us in just a couple short weeks.
Yes, he'll be back with us next month. He'll be opening and closing that yearbook again before you know it.
With a vengeance.
Yes, for sure. Absolutely.
He's not here tonight, so let's forget about Pete for now. Gifford, you're in charge.
Yeah. All right. So tonight, we are going to talk about a little-known movie that came out May 16th of 86, and that is Top Gun. This had a budget of only $15 million. I'm a little surprised.
You know, I wrote, okay, I'm glad you brought that up already, because that's one of my, under my fun facts. It's not really a fun fact, but I was shocked when I saw that.
Yeah. Because
that does not seem like very much for what they did in this movie. And if I remember right, when we did, at some point I looked up the budget of Three Amigos, and I'm pretty sure it was $16 million. And so for Three Amigos to have a bigger budget than Top Gun in the same year, that's a shocker to me right there.
Yeah, for sure. Those horses didn't fly or anything. So that's a little crazy.
It must have all been in that Fred Asparagus, getting him on board.
Exactly. Yep, for sure. And then it came back and produced $357 million at the box office. So
a little better than Three Amigos, too.
A little bit better there. So massive return on investment. So usually we start with our memories. So this was a movie that I did go see in Marshall at the movie theater. My Aunt Joan was kind enough to come pick me up. I was staying with my grandma in Marshall, and she came by, picked me up, and took me to this movie. And I just, I hadn't been to a lot of like action thriller type movies, being that I was, I would have been still 9 at this point. So I wasn't quite. What's that?
You hadn't even seen Witness yet.
No, of course not. Wasn't as familiar with Kelly McGillis as you were, correct? Wasn't she?
Right, yeah, she was. That was what got her this job, pretty much.
Exactly. So, I was a little nervous. I was like, I don't know what what I'm
always
getting
comes
into.
Back to Witness.
It always does.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. And of course, I absolutely loved this movie from the get-go. This might be where my love of military aircraft came from. Just thought it was so cool. The Tomcat, just one of the coolest planes with the movable wings, and love the whole action sequences, everything like that. And for little 9-year-old Giffy, there's some kissy smoochy time in there too. That was
Tomcat. I thought you were referring to Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes.
Hey, well, exactly. Yeah, that would be a few years later.
Yes.
when he jumps on Oprah's couch. but yeah. So I loved it from the get go. I thought it was just absolutely wonderful. And since then, I've probably seen this movie, maybe 10 times, I suppose. And I've watched it more recently after the release of Top Gun Maverick. And after seeing that movie, and I love that movie, of course, had to go back and rewatch the original as well, because they do such a great job playing off of it in the second one. So, yeah, great time watching it the first time. What say you, Brad?
I don't have you actually have more memories than me this time. I am almost 100% sure I also saw it in the Marshall movie theater. I remember going to it in the movie theater. That's in my head, but I have zero memory of who I was with. If like my parents went, or like my whole family, because we all would have been living at home at that time, or if like I went with my brother and somebody, I have no idea, but I am almost certain that I did go see it in the movie theater. I knew of Tom Cruise. I knew this was a big movie, so I was excited to go see it. But it kind of surprised me when I look back, because you think that Tom Cruise got this role because he's such a giant star, but this is really the movie that, up to this point, Risky Business, which we covered, and we did a really good job on that earlier this year. You can go back and listen to that episode. And I guess All the Right Moves, kind of, but was kind of a decent, bigger movie. That's about it. So I was thinking he was more of like a bankable star when this movie came out, and this is one that really made that happen, for sure. Cemented him. I do know I definitely loved it. And I also fell in love with the soundtrack. And this is a soundtrack I got as a kid too, and love listening to, and we'll hit on a little bit of that later in this episode as well. So my memory is hazy, but I know I loved it, and I know I saw it, and that's about all I got to say about that.
Sweet. Well, I believe this was the top grossing movie for 1986 when we did our draft with oh my God,
Crocodile Dundee was number 2.
That's right. So, so a lot of people, of course, have seen this movie, but I'm still going to read my synopsis just so everybody can catch up. Top Gun is not so much a movie as it is a seat-of-your-pants, adrenaline-fueled, machismo overload thrill ride. The story follows Navy pilot Pete Maverick Mitchell on his quest to be the best pilot in the Navy, nay, the world. He and his partner, Mother Goose, are selected to attend the Navy flight school Top Gun. He competes in the air and on the volleyball court to be the best of the best. The only thing holding him back is his own reckless, albeit brilliant, flying. Along the way, he beds one of his instructors, loses his best friend, and shoots down 3 nationless MiG-28 aircraft. A killer soundtrack accompanies our hero along his journey from mere bad boy to Top Gun.
Very nice. Very, very succinct. Very economical with the words there. Good job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, massive movie. I'm sure everybody's seen it. I mean, one thing I do love about this is that you're not really fighting a nation, and it's always a faceless enemy in both of the movies. One of the reasons for that, as we get into our fun facts here, is that because the production leans so heavily on cooperation from the government and the Navy, they had some say in the script. So, like, yes, there was supposed to be, like, fight scene near Cuba, and they made it, where it's over international waters.
Indian Ocean.
Yeah, so they're going to try to make it less confrontational to an actual opponent.
And this was basically an ad for them too, and the enlistees after this movie came out just was through the roof because it looked so great. And we'll get into the cast here too. There's a lot of people either in the cast or that could have been in the cast that didn't necessarily like that stance and kept him out, or and we'll get Val Kilmer in his case anyway. He's in it anyway, but he definitely wasn't necessarily in love with that kind of tone that it had. But yeah, they had a lot of help and say from the Navy.
Correct. Yeah. Kilmer was in the movie because he was under contract with the studio, so they ended up putting him in the movie. So yeah, that was one of the things for him. So inspiration for this movie came from a California magazine article called Top Guns in 1983, kind of chronicling the pilot's life at Miramar at the Top Gun school. So I thought, it was kind of interesting. The director here, Tony Scott, whose brother is Ridley Scott.
Oh, yeah. I knew that, but in all my little previewing here, I didn't even see that written anywhere, so I forgot.
Yeah.
You are correct.
So he was given the job of directing this movie based on a Saab commercial in which a car races a jet. I'm like, seriously? That can't be it, right? Like, they weren't scraping the bottom of the barrel that bad for this. But yeah, he ends up getting the job, and ironically enough, his brother Ridley is the one who convinces Tom Cruise to do this movie. Matthew Modine, we hear Matthew Modine again for the millionth time.
And everything comes back to Witness and Matthew Modine.
Yes, we are on a streak.
He did not want to do it because of the pro-war stance in it, and he ended up making Full Metal Jacket instead, which is another great movie, and he really didn't make a huge mistake there.
No, not by any stretch.
Kubrick, great movie, so win-win for everybody.
Yeah, some of the other people that were up for the role of Maverick were Emilio Estevez, Patrick Swayze, Sean Penn, Rob Lowe, Charlie Sheen, Michael J. Fox, and Ralph Macchio.
I don't see that at all.
I don't see that at all.
Or Michael J. Fox. I mean, really?
Right?
He did do a war movie, but I don't see him as the cool Top Gun guy at all.
Right. I could totally see Sean Penn in this role.
Rob, a lot of those guys.
Rob Lowe, you could see. And, of course, Charlie Sheen comes back with Hot Shots. That's 1 and 2. So, I mean, he got... Part D, yes. So he got in there, eventually in that role. Other people up for the role of Charlie were Brooke Shields and Demi Moore, which I would have been all in favor of as well.
And this is another thing where the Navy had a say, because Charlie is based on a real person, actually, but she was part of the Navy, and they made her a civilian instead. I guess they wanted to have that space there, considering that she has a tryst with the kid and everything. But she's based on Christine Legs Fox.
Yep.
And
yeah, they needed to change that because you can't have officers having affairs with enlisted, people. So they moved that as well. So yeah,
let's talk about Charlie.
Yeah,
because I got a question. So I've listened to there was a podcast recently that was about Top Gun just by chance, and I've in my research and stuff, I've seen a lot of hate for Kelly McGillis. So, first of all, is she hot or not? And second of all, why do people not like her in this role? I think she's fine. I like her.
I
Am I
never
missing something? Is this like Jerry Seinfeld with Christine Taylor in that episode where he doesn't get it and everybody doesn't? They all think she's terrible. Is it that kind of thing? What's going on here?
well, and I don't know if this is like looking back on. I don't remember hearing anything back then either.
Yeah,
Did you?
it's got to be a lot of shit. What's that term?
Revisionist.
Revisionist history. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't find her unattractive in this role by any means.
I don't either.
So I mean, I wouldn't
part of
mind
it, though,
seeing.
people thought she wasn't like good looking enough or something. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't get it
if
either.
you ran across any of that, or if you had any opinion, because I've caught onto this theme that like that was one of the worst parts of the movie is Kelly McGillis being in this role. But
Well, and in what capacity is it the acting? Because if you want to talk acting in this movie,
I really don't think that's what I'm
I
saying.
don't think Kelly McGillis would be on the top of that list by any stretch of the imagination. You know, pretty much all of the pilots, the guys playing, you know, I mean, they're pretty rough, and the writing in this, I mean, between Iceman and Maverick is, you know, kind of rough, and you know, I mean,
well, that brings up a review by Roger Ebert too, there, because the Rotten Tomatoes, I was surprised, it's only 58% by critics, even now, which usually when you look back on a movie like this, it goes way up over time, but it's still 58. And in Ebert, for example, really praised all the flight and action scenes, and like it was a great movie in that way. But like he had nothing to do with the love story or the anything basically that wasn't the action. He thought was just dreadful, and I think that's kind of a common theme with a bunch of critics too, from what I saw.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I mean, there's some really tough, because it's so, like I said in the synopsis, it's machismo overload. I mean, it's just a dick measuring contest through this entire movie between all the pilots, whether they're the Top Gun students or even the instructors, you know, having to be the coolest guy in town. You know, I mean, for crying out loud, you know, I mean, there's a $20 bet to go have sex with a woman on the premises. Like, I'm sorry.
Knowledge.
Correct. I mean, in our group of friends, that's the easiest $20 you're ever going to make, right? I mean, your buddy's not scoring, you know, particularly not that night, you know,
I think
in
that's
the place.
The case with most normal people, though, too.
Correct, but that goes back to my point of the machismo is so thick in this.
Well, and that's coming from a family man who's encouraging it and making that.
But he's
the
living
one family man in the movie.
Yeah, he's living vicariously through all the other guys that are, you know, finding different cockpits to crawl into, if you will.
Oh,
so yeah, I mean, I think the acting in it is really is quite tough.
Hashtag there.
Yes, I there might be. Correct.
Okay, so we kind of got off track with Kelly McGillis. Keep on going here with the cast.
I got another thing on Kelly McGillis.
We're not done.
She had to go shoeless while filming scenes with Tom Cruise because of the height.
Wearing like platform boots because, you know, he's 5'7", she's 5'10", and you know he's always had that issue with his height.
Yes. The studio Paramount paid $7,800 per hour for the flying scene. So anything where they didn't just take footage of like jets doing their normal stuff, you know, like B-roll basically. When they had to use a jet to get a shot or whatever, $7,800 an hour. Which again, how is this movie only $15 million for the budget?
I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
Speaking of that these scenes are very realistic and run by them. You know, it's dedicated at the end to what's his name?
Art Scholl.
Art Scholl, who was a stunt flyer who actually did die in the making of this movie, which is kind of sad, of course.
Yeah, he was the one that was. He took on the job of filming the flat spin scene in this, and I guess ironically, if you will, was not able to pull out of it and did die. His plane, along with him, crashed in the ocean, and they were not able to recover him or his plane. So, yeah, definitely a dangerous movie to film. No arguing that for sure. But yeah, there was one story I heard. They were filming on the aircraft carrier, and the director wanted the aircraft carrier to turn And so they had the sun in the proper spot, and the captain said that it would take, what was it, $25,000 to turn the boat. So the director wrote him a check for $25,000 so they could turn the boat, so he could continue to shoot for 5 more minutes with the proper light. So yeah, that was a little crazy in my opinion. But let's get into the cast here. Of course,
we were.
Well, of course, we got Tom Cruise as our main character playing Pete. I'm trying to say Pete as many times as I can on this episode.
Pete Mitchell.
Yes, Pete Mitchell, Maverick, aptly named, as he is the bad boy, kind of, does whatever, flies by the seat of his pants, as Jester would say.
So we brought him up already and how he really wasn't the huge star yet. The thing that really threw me early in this movie, he has a unibrow. Did you notice that?
Yes. Courtney even said that last night. She goes,
okay, good. I'm like, Tom
brows.
Cruise, Top Gun. And right at the beginning, I'm looking at his face like, what is going on here? Where is the tweezing?
You're right. Yes.
Not expected. Something I didn't expect.
Yeah, makeup should have done a little bit better job on that. Of course, you talked about Charlie with Kelly McGillis. She's just coming off of Witness at this point. Iceman, played by Val Kilmer. Love this role with him in it. I mean, he was absolutely excellent.
Yes, I agree. It's such a memorable, overused word, iconic role. Mm-hmm. But as I was watching it this time, I mean, I really didn't think it was a very big part. I didn't feel like he had a very much to say or do. Like, he's really not in it that much and doesn't have a lot of dialogue or anything. And he doesn't even, he's got that scene at the end where he apologizes kind of, but he really doesn't do much, which is I just interesting when I watched it this time, because the role. Like, I mean, obviously, whatever he did, it endured. It's great. Yep. But when you watch the movie, it's like, this guy really didn't, it's not that big of a part. It's not much going on there. You'd expect him to be more of that villain throughout, and there's not as much tension as I would have remembered between like him and Maverick.
But that was kind of the point, right? I mean, Maverick's always trying to find that adversary no matter what. And you see that scene where, Iceman says, like, hey, we're all on the same team here. We're kind of wondering what team are you on? I mean, you're dangerous when you go up there to everybody, So he's not trying to be a bad guy. He's not trying to be the villain. He's just damn good at his job. And again, his ego is going to make him...
Another one with a big ego and a...
Yep. Is going to make him say some stuff, but he's really not a bad guy. But, he just looks the part so well. These guys, all these guys that they cast, I mean, they're just absolute pretty boys, just ripped. They look so perfect for the part,
Who do you think has a better, more memorable breathing through his teeth scene? Iceman or Chevy Chase in Caddyshack?
I might go Chevy.
I didn't expect you to put much thought into that.
I might go Chevy on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So here we've got...
I mean, he's doing it to Lacey Underall, for God's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
We also have Mother Goose, played by the eternal nerd Anthony Edwards, just 2 years removed.
Hot off Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep.
Shout out to our other favorite show, Surely You Can't Be Serious.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great episode on that in Animal House.
Yeah. This is one of those things I love, how this shows the range of an actor, right? Like you can play the nerd and play it very convincingly, and then come into this movie. And I mean, of the group, he's probably the biggest nerd of the group, because he's also married with a kid. Yeah. He's maybe
Doesn't
a little
take
more
his shirt
reserved.
off playing volleyball.
No, but he's still pretty damn cool in this. I mean, he's Goose. Everybody loves Goose. I mean, everybody. Iceman knows him. Slider knows him. Everybody knows and loves Goose, So he's part of this fraternity of really cool dudes.
Large departure from Revenge of the Nerds.
For sure. Yep. We've got one of our instructors at Top Gun, played by Tom Skerritt. He plays Viper.
I love this guy.
Yep, absolutely love this guy. He, of course, flew with Maverick's dad in, was it the Vietnam War?
I guess so.
I think it's Vietnam. Anyway, he's one of the instructors, one of the head guys there. And Yeah, he plays a great role. Just always so calm and cool, even when he's pissed.
I mean, he's a good character. When I said I love him, I'm referring to Tom Skerritt. I just think he's he's kind of like Tom Selleck light.
Oh.
And of course, my memorable Tom Skerritt, where I really learned of him and loved him right off the bat, is the Evan Drake role on Cheers. Like him and Rebecca on Cheers was just fantastic. And I think he was only in probably 6 to 10 episodes, but it's one of those characters that if you watch the show, you know, it's kind of like Putty. You look back at Putty, he's not in that many episodes, but holy cow, does everybody know Putty?
Everybody knows Putty.
But I love Tom Skerritt, and I love him from Cheers.
Feels like an RB.
He also in Steel Magnolias around this time, which
a
lot of people would like to.
Mm-hmm. Michael Ironside plays another instructor, Gesture, in this movie. He's just been in a million things throughout his career, but he's great in this role as well. Rick Rossovich, who plays Slider. I love Slider. Yes. Yeah, I was watching the volleyball scene, and of course,
so sweaty.
Everybody's sweaty in this movie.
I know. I mean, I watched it with my wife, and she's just like, they're all so sweaty all the time.
All the time. Yes. So, of course, when I was in Morris, we had a sand volleyball court in our backyard, and we played a lot of sand volleyball. And when I was watching this the other night, Courtney came in, and I pointed at Slider. I said, that's what I look like sophomore year of college, right? And she almost peed herself laughing at that comment.
And he's very familiar looking. I don't really know him for much, but he is in the next year. He is in Roxanne. And it's like the love interest that Steve Martin is, you know, doing the Cyrano part for. And so, of course, he's very memorable to me from Roxanne as well. After that, I don't know what else this guy really did, but I'm sure something. He's very familiar.
Those are the only two things I really know him from.
Were they? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably it then.
We got a young Tim Robbins who plays Merlin.
I saw him in the credits, and I'm like, wait, Tim Robbins. And then I'm like, do we ever actually see his face? And then at the very end, the helmet comes and he's a weird character because he's in the beginning, and then he disappears, and then all of a sudden he's in it again at the end, and you don't really understand how he's in those two places at once.
Well, he would have stayed on the carrier because he was Cougar's Rio at the beginning of the film. Cougar was the #1 pilot. He quit.
Okay. I guess, I was thinking he was in the Indian Ocean part, but if it was that scene of Top Gun, then that makes more sense. But
so so he would have been still probably on the aircraft carrier, and of course, you know, we don't have Goose anymore, so they get paired up. What's that?
Very early role for Tim Robbins.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. And I mean, just 2 years later, of course, he would have been Ebby Calvin LaLouche in Bull Durham for us. We got Clarence Gilliard Jr. You recognize him as one of the bad guys in Die Hard. Kind of the computer. He plays Sundown.
I don't remember who that is.
That is I believe, the only African-American character in this entire film.
Oh, I still don't remember who he is in either movie.
Oh, okay. He plays Theo. He's like the computer guy.
Oh. Well, I know Theo, of course.
Yeah, same guy.
Okay.
Sundown
I guess
Theo.
I did not make that connection. I didn't notice.
Okay.
Right, he's not given a very big part, so.
We have American sweetheart Meg Ryan plays Goose's wife in this movie.
Earlier.
Yeah, and she's not in a lot, but as we get a little further into our episode, she will come up again in our quotes section.
Oh, yeah.
And then playing the role of Chad Drake in this movie is Whip Hubley as Hollywood. I have to give him a mention.
Chad Drake, friend from home who was nicknamed Hollywood.
Yes, many years after this movie, but still earned that name.
Simply because he wore sunglasses.
Yes, that's all it takes. And Tyler,
Minnesota.
That's all it takes. So I was watching the credits after the movie, and of course, they're in the credits are all the pilots that flew in this movie, and of course, their call signs were on there as well. And there was a Hollywood that flew for this movie, and I think that was the only call sign that did match up with one of the characters. I mean, there's other characters in here, but those are kind of the big ones to mention. We are going to get into our favorite scenes, and favorite quotes of the movie. I'm going to let you go ahead first. What is your favorite scene?
I really don't have many scenes written down. My favorite two scenes are the opening scenes on the aircraft carrier, just the planes landing. I just love. You call me a sucker for this, whatever, but the shots of like the guys on the aircraft carrier working and like what do you call the guys that like bring the planes in and stuff. It just looks so real, and I love it. And the music playing, of course. So I love that, the action, but also like the minor action on the carrier. And it just gets you into that action right away with the flying and also the sounds.
The sound.
It's great imagery, the sounds of the planes. It's just it hits you in so many ways. And then my other favorite is the last scene at the end, because that one is so real, because they're actually fighting something, and like it's not just a game or to win a prize. It's so like Roger Ebert, my favorite scenes are definitely the action scenes, and the way it starts and finishes. Those are the best ones to me, and they do. It's just it's so realistic, it seems, and I love it. I love the images and the sounds and everything. It's wonderful. I've said that like 10 times. It's wonderful tonight.
Well, and that first scene, it looks so real what those guys are doing, because that is real. I mean,
that's true. Yeah, that's why it's such a good movie in that way, because it is real. So
for sure. Well, I'm going to go with the first one I wrote down, and I love this scene to no end, and the song that goes along with it, and that is the volleyball scene, playing with the boys. I love the scene. I love the shirtless, sweaty men. I love Slider flexing and screaming and yelling. Just that competition that you see, not just in the air, as I said, but in anything that these guys are doing. They're competing. And of course, when we would play volleyball in Morris, we'd have a tournament, and this would be the first song played at the beginning of the tournament. And then, of course, one of the great lines in this movie, at the end, you hear Slider in the background, "Mother Goose, you pussy!" I just love that line, because he's trying to egg him on, and of course, Maverick's got to head off to see Charlie. But that was my first scene that I always go back to.
Definitely one of the more memorable ones.
Yeah. Another one I've got accompanies a song again, and it's in the bar in the beginning. And of course, they have the $20 bet where Pete needs to, bet a chick, and they see Charlie walk in. And when Maverick looks at Goose and says, "Well, she's lost that love and feeling," and Goose's response is, he delivers it so well, how he just goes, "No, she hasn't. Maverick, she hasn't." And then he throws his stuff down. He goes, "God, I hate it when she does that." I just love the back and forth. And then as they start singing this horrible rendition of "You've Lost That Love and Feeling," every guy in the bar is in on it. This is not a new thing that happens. They know this game, this con that somebody's trying to pull on a woman, and they're all in with the guy. This is the one time you don't see guys competing for the girl. They're actually trying to help a guy bed the girl, and there's some romance in that, and I really, really enjoy that scene as well. Did you have any others besides the first and last?
I mean, really, as far as favorite scenes, it's really just the action scenes. I mean, like that scene to me is very cringeworthy. I mean, I get it, and I get why you might like it. But I think that's one, again, I'm going to be on the side of Ebert with that. And I don't mind it in the movie. As a movie, that's how the movie moves. I like it. It's fine. But I'm not going to say it's one of my favorite scenes. Same thing with the Great Balls of Fire scene. I don't know. There's some good quotes in there maybe, but the scene itself is kind of seems pushed in. I don't know. And I wouldn't call this my favorite scene, but the whole part with him, the love affair, the wooing of Kelly McGillis, I'm impressed by the restraint. I do like how he goes from playing volleyball to her house and he's throws a shirt on. He's playing volleyball in jeans. Okay,
yes,
come on.
First off, that's a problem.
He throws a shirt on. He's sweaty as shit, and he shows up and asks to take a shower. I thought that's kind of funny. And they never kiss. And then there's another time where when he's gonna leave, and he still doesn't kiss her. And I find the restraint kind of cool, that they don't just go right at it. I like that there is some foreplay, I guess, whatever the word you want to use. I like that they build that up a little bit. And this isn't a great big scene or anything, but I like when they're sitting on the deck at her house, listening to sitting on the dock of the bay because I like the song.
Great song.
So I do the scenes with those two. I don't know, maybe they're not great, but I kind of like the way that they developed that over time. I think it could be better, but I guess that'd be my next choice if I have to pick another one. And again, it's just because I don't like a lot of it doesn't. I love the movie. You know, it's one of those where I love the movie, but I can also look at it and say, well, there's not any great scenes in there outside of the action. It's just those scenes are in there to keep it going, but it still works all together. The movie's great. So,
well, I have one more, and I find that the scenes that I love in this movie are scenes with both Goose and Maverick. So they play off each other in the bar with she's lost that love and feeling, and Goose is drug into having to do this thing again. We got the volleyball scene where they're teammates. The other one I love is in the hangar when they meet Charlie for the first time, right after he's hit on her. And now they need to have this professional relationship. But the story he tells of the MiG and how he was flying, and then, of course, he gets interrupted by Goose. And he goes, we were doing this, and just the back and forth between those two in that scene and how they play off of each other. Then you got Goose, of course, flipping her off, whoa, give him the bird, and those two together in this movie, I think, play so well off of each other that those are the scenes that stood out to me.
Agree. And then if I was going to throw one more in there, it'd be after he does the flyby, because he's doing that on his own and he's getting in trouble. Yep. I like how Goose has to, stand up for himself and tell him, you got to quit fucking around. I have a family and like he can talk to him that way and actually like get through. So I do. Their relationship is great, of course. And that makes when he dies very sad.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the thing you say, like he goes to his room and tells him to quit fucking around, but then of course he turns around right away and like they're in that one flight where he's not supposed to leave his wingman. He goes after Viper, and again, Goose is just stuck in the back seat, can't do anything. He's telling him, he don't do it, man, don't do it.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like, good Lord.
But and then it tries.
And then of course when we have this horrible scene where Goose does die, that's a situation in which he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't being reckless. He was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing, and that's when things went sideways. And that was one thing. Like after Goose dies, like everybody's just on him. Like, okay, let's get him up in the air, keep flying. You got to engage. Like let's go. And he quits and. Kelly McGillis won't let him quit, and he, goes to see Viper, and Viper, tells him, well, I'm not telling you what to do, but, So I thought it was a little strange how they just kept pushing him. I mean, this is one of his best friends.
I get that. This is a job where you just can't. Things are going to happen, and you have to get out there and do it. And if you can't do it, then you got to quit. So I agreed with that. I understood that totally. The best thing is for him to get back up and do what he's doing. And if he doesn't do that, he's probably going to lose it. And then they all lose it.
Well, there's the scene where he's in the bathroom, standing there in his tighty whities, and Viper comes in and says, Goose is dead. And then during that scene, he goes, you got to let him go. It's like, what? Like, he just died.
That one particular scene is definitely a little bit too harsh and to the point, and it's like you didn't even give him a chance to, like, first of all, of course he's dead, no shit. And the way he delivers that line is just like very harsh. So in that scene, yes, I'm with you. But after that, it's like, yeah, he's still got to get back out there.
Yeah. Do you have any lines that you'd like to?
So it kind of ties into that. So Viper, this is towards the end. You got a lot of famous lines that, of course, I'm sure we'll say. Mm-hmm. But after Viper really hears the whole story and they talk and he goes to his house and everything, I love the line, if you don't get your Rio, give me a call. I'll fly with you. Like, he flew with his dad. So I love how the teacher is willing to go work with him to help him get him back up there, and knows and believes in him and respects him.
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool line, and I love Tom Skerritt, so, maybe choke up.
That is a good one. Absolutely. One of the best Skerritt lines that I like in this movie is when he's standing in his office, Goose and Maverick are standing in the hallway, and the control tower guy is absolutely ripping into Tom Skerritt about, his hot shot pilots just buzz my tower. This is a bunch of crap. I'm going to have somebody's ass. So he gets done getting his ass chewed, walks out of that office into another one, and just walks by the guys and goes, well, I think that'll just about cover the flybys. He's always so cool and calm no matter what. I think that's such a great line, well delivered by Tom Skerritt.
Most of the other lines I wrote down are pretty much almost cliche at this point because they're so well known. But the one that I really liked, it is kind of maybe a little lesser known, but probably is pretty well known, is, son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash.
Yes.
That at the beginning. And it's a good one because, that sums up Maverick right there.
Right. And this is, of course, the captain of
Goose
the boat that he's on.
Not, again, he didn't do anything wrong in that scene, but still,
right.
It's his wingman who ends up, or not his wingman, but his Rio who ends up dead.
Yeah. So I love, this guy is just, to me, is a caricature of the police captain who yells at the Maverick guy.
I kept looking. I sure I knew that guy, but I didn't even see his name really in the credits. So does he just
James
look like
Tolkien? And he is also known for War Games. He's Mr. Strickland in Back to the Future.
All right, I don't know. He's from Back to the Future. I'd have to see who that was.
But one of his lines that I loved, because it's just so arbitrarily strange, but he says it so mean, it's a threat, and that's, if you screw up again, you'll be flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. None of the things in that sentence make any sense. Why
that's
is
kind of like that? That's kind of like that line in Deadpool where T.J. Miller said whatever. It was a crazy line that he said to him about his face, and it made no sense. I'm like, is that funny or not funny? I don't know, but it's kind of the same type of thing.
Well, I'm just wondering why Hong Kong is producing such large quantities of rubber dog shit that you need a cargo plane in order to carry it out of there.
And even though it was rubber shit.
Right. So I think that line is just hilarious and, just shows, this is the guy that's very threatening and, can have your ass at any moment. The other one that I've got in here, of course, we got, I feel the need for speed.
Yeah. Talk to me, Goose.
Yep, that's huge. But the one from Meg Ryan that I love is, hey, Goose, you big stud, take me to bed or lose me forever. I mean, that's such a great line.
It's an interesting line, but it's middle of the day, seemingly, and their kid is right there, too. So are they just going to take the kid home, and they're just going to, it's a little out of place, it feels like.
Hey, it's middle of the day, she's day drinking, she hasn't seen her man in a while, she's a little horned up.
Yeah, I get that. Where's the kid going?
I don't know, he sits in the corner, watches a TV show. Come on.
The only other two I got is you never leave your wingman, and you can be my wingman anytime. I mean, that's...
Yeah. That's such a quick, cheesy wrap-up to the movie, isn't it? Okay, now we're okay. It's almost like the end of Karate Kid. Yeah. You're okay, Russo! And then it's just over. So,
except it's not the end, because we have the scene at the bar after that. So.
For sure. The last thing we're going to touch on is this soundtrack for this movie. So I mentioned in our previous episode
that the last. We got a great draft coming. Don't tune out. You want to hear that one.
We've got a great draft as well. 9 times platinum for this album. It was number 1 on Billboard's top 200 albums for 5 weeks during the year. You got Take My Breath Away, performed by Berlin, won an Oscar and a Golden Globe for Best Original Song. Hit number 1 on the Hot 100. It was number 27 on the year-end charts. It hit number 1 in Belgium, Europe, Ireland, Netherlands, and UK charts. So I know
something about that too. Even they like that song so much that they added extra scenes of him and Charlie in there just to use that song or extended scenes or something. But
sure.
They want the song they love so much they worked it in even more than maybe was planned.
Yeah, and it's a great song. I mean,
it's a great song.
I love that song. You mentioned also like you have the Top Gun theme music, so that's what starts the movie.
Oh, so good.
You know, it ends the movie. You know, just the soaring, you know, instrumental in this is just excellent. You know, that slow build.
And you think of these kind of soundtracks, and they're filled with hits and like big artists, but this is one where they actually include that theme song on there, and it's probably as big of a reason why people bought it as almost any of the other songs because it was so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely,
and it's instantly recognizable.
Well, and you'd mentioned also in the movie, you know, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay with Otis Redding. That's of course a huge one, and then Danger Zone hit number 2 on the Hot 100, number 42 on the year-end chart. Of course, the other Kenny Loggins song in here. Playing with the Boys, not as big of a hit, but for me, it's my favorite song in this movie.
So Kenny Loggins, you would think of as the '80s soundtrack king, and like, of course, he sings the big song here. But actually, the song was offered to Toto first, and REO Speedwagon and Bryan Adams all had like opportunities for this song, but it did end up going to Kenny Loggins, and you just assume why wouldn't? Because, I mean, at this point, he'd already done Caddyshack. He'd already done Footloose. I guess a couple others were coming after this probably. But, I mean, he's huge, especially with the movie soundtracks.
For sure. So in 2000, this soundtrack was re-released, and it added to the soundtrack were Great Balls of Fire and You've Lost That Love and Feeling. So those two songs.
Some of these songs that are really big in the movie weren't part of the sound. Like, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay, that's not on the soundtrack, is it?
I don't think it is. No. But, I mean, these are songs, you know, not part of the CD or the record, I guess, but, you know, part of the soundtrack of the film, songs that are in the film.
That's, I mean, the soundtrack had all these hits, but there's even more great songs that were used that aren't even on it.
Right.
One of my favorites is, I don't even remember what this song was in the movie ever. I don't remember where it was played, but I love Loverboy, and the song Heaven in Your Eyes is probably, after Danger Zone, that might be my favorite song on
when
here.
was that played?
I don't know that it was. I don't remember it played, but I just
maybe
listened to Loverboy today. I mean, man, they're awesome.
Maybe it was in the background at the bar or something. At the beginning scene, there's some music. Yeah, because there was some music at the first bar scene that, you know, I wasn't really paying that much attention to. So yeah, that's gonna kind of wrap it up for the movie itself. Always a good rewatch. Love the movie for sure. But for tonight's top 5 draft, in honor of Goose's untimely death in this film, we are going to draft our top 5 surprise or didn't see it coming deaths in movies.
Whether ones that made you sad. When you first brought it up, you said sad. So I've got ones that are surprising and ones that are sad, and some are both. And it's like, so I don't know how to pick. I got so many good ones here.
Well, and I kind of went more surprising or didn't see coming. Not necessarily that they made me sad. I've got some on my list that absolutely made me sad. But they're mostly, you know, oh my God, I did not see that death coming. So yeah, we're gonna put this together tonight. So for me, I'll take the number 1 pick here. Man, there's so many good ones. I think surprise-wise, I'm going to go Malcolm, Bruce Willis's character in The Sixth Sense.
Okay.
Did not know he was dead.
That's right.
Until the end of the frickin' movie. So that was a bit of a surprise. Did not see that coming.
Agreed. I have it on my list. It's an interesting one because he's dead the whole time, but yeah, that's the surprise.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to rate these because there's so many that are similar. So the one I'm going to write down is one of my just favorite movies, and it really is sad because it's one of those movies where you've got like this redemption type story, and it's kind of working out, and it's all going to work out, and then at the end, it's like, oh, fuck. So American History X, I love, and the little brother of, oh my God, what's his name?
Yeah, it's Ed.
Who's the main guy? I can't.
Oh my God, Ed Norton.
Ed Norton, thank you.
Yeah.
So Edward Furlong plays his little brother, and he's teaching him, and he's getting him out of this stuff, and he's getting him on the right track. And then this kid comes in this bathroom at school and shoots him, and it's like, it just was gut wrenching the first time I saw it. And every time I watch the movie, I'm like, no, he can't. That can't happen. It's horrible.
Yeah,
and it's just such a great movie.
Yes, it is. All right, I'm gonna go with Ricky in Boys in the Hood.
It's going to be my first pick, and then I switched it.
Yeah, that was, man, when that guy pulls the shotgun out and he's just running. I mean, he's the one bright, shining kid in this whole neighborhood.
Oh, I hate that you picked that. I thought I would get it up this one.
Yeah, that was a big one for me, so didn't see that one coming.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to concede this draft already. You got the two best ones. So I'm going to pick another one. And if you've seen this movie, you know how sad it is. You know how terrible it is. But it's not as big of a movie, although it's recent. And that is Rosie, who was played by Scarlett Johansson, the mother in Jojo Rabbit. Oh, again, one of my just favorite movies. It's such a good movie in every way. And when this kid sees her feet hanging from
the feet.
You know the shoes.
Yep.
Because that's how they give it away. It's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. My next pick, there's so many big deaths in this movie, but the one that really struck me, and I did not see it coming, and that's Bubba from Forrest Gump.
Yep, that's a good one. See, you got the really big hitters here, of course.
That one tugged at the heartstrings for sure.
But they're good choices.
Yeah, that one hurt.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep with the sad theme here, and maybe one of the saddest ones is Bing Bong in Inside Out.
Yes, I saw that.
I mean,
I just rewatched
Inside
that.
Out. I mean, you know right away how sad that was and how emotional that whole scene was. I mean, really, it's great.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I just rewatched it, and again, just self-sacrifice. You know, it's awesome.
And it's Richard Kind plays the voice, and I love that guy. Such just a recognizable voice. So it's even, I think that makes it even more sad because you know the guy and you know the voice, and it's just it's good. I mean, it's not good, but it's so well done.
Yep. One of the biggest surprises for me, it was in a horror movie. You know, you think that the biggest star in the movie, the biggest name in the movie, is going to make it all the way through, and this is the Casey character, Drew Barrymore, from the first Scream movie.
And that was the one I was just going to pick with my last choice there, and I passed it up, and then you picked her.
I mean, I didn't see that coming. There was no way you thought she was going to die in the first scene of the movie.
No, you didn't, because you didn't know at that time.
Right.
All right. Well, I mean, the whole thing is shot here. I'm going to go with one. This isn't a sad one. This actually is one that I liked. Like, it made me feel good. So this is an episode that we did last year. We did Reservoir Dogs, and I totally forgot, what happened. So when you learn Mr. Orange is a cop is when he shoots Mr. Blonde, and I didn't see that coming at all. And I love it because Mr. Blonde is just a verbose piece of shit. And you like
that
Mr. Orange.
Is a great pick.
So Mr. Blonde, the way he dies is surprising and satisfying in Reservoir Dogs.
Well, and you're so transfixed on what he's doing to the cop that your mind is completely focused on the intense scene that you're in.
That cop. I mean, you're like, why did he shoot him? And then it's great. I mean, it's a great movie.
Well, and you thought he was dead. You thought he was just laying over there dead the whole time, or most of the time. So that's a huge pick. That's a great one.
I'm not going to win, but I have good picks.
I want to take Goose, but for my last pick, I'm going to go with Apollo Creed and Rocky 4. I mean, lead up to that fight with Drago, like it's all fun and games. He's, doing his training, laughing, then he has the big intro and it's just awesome. And then all of a sudden, he's dead on the mat. So did not see that one coming for sure.
All right. There's so many. Okay, here's another one that I did not see coming, and I just rewatched this recently, and I forgot that it happened again because I hadn't watched it in so long. Joe Pesci in Goodfellas. When he walks in, he doesn't know it's coming. He thinks he's becoming a made man, and it's all set up for that. You think that, and then they shoot him, and the second right before he gets shot, he's like, "Aw,"
right,
and then he's And I just watched that like 2 months ago, and so I'll throw that one in there. I got so many good ones. Let's try to have some fun with Pete's list here.
All right, so Pete is going to win this poll. I predict it right now. So
I'll vote for it.
With my first Pete pick, I am going to go with. Okay, so I picked Apollo Creed as my number 5 pick. I'm going to pick Chubbs from Happy Gilmore.
Oh, same actor.
Same actor. He got me twice. Fool me once, shame on me. Oh, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go with the movie that we all hold near and dear, and I'm going to say The Invisible Swordsman in Three Amigos.
See, he's winning this. I swear to God, he's winning it.
No, he's not. You are.
Nope. We're going to make his list so entertaining. All right.
Did you have that one? Did you think of that one?
I did not. I've been missing out on.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Wait till you hear my next one.
Okay. I'm going to take... Pete is going to take Blue from Old School. You're my boy, Blue. Did not see that one coming.
All right. I wish I had 2 more picks here for Pete.
I wish I had 1,000,000 picks for Pete.
But I'm going to take the old man in the bathroom at the end of Clerks.
Oh, my God. I did not have that one either.
They draw the biggest titties in these things.
All right. I'm going to take one that really hit me quite hard.
I'm giving him an honorable mention, too, after you go.
Yeah, I've got quite a few honorable mentions here. I'm gonna take one that, because this is Pete's list, I'm taking Petey from Dumb and Dumber.
Pretty bird. All right, yes. Pete's honorable mention pick is the dog in Fear, because I wanted another episode that we covered, and the dog's head coming through the door at the end there as the. So
outstanding. What else do you have?
Definitely the most fun list.
Yeah.
So I almost picked this one, but I already picked an animated movie, Mufasa in The Lion King.
Yep.
You kind of, I can't remember if you knew this was coming the first time you saw it or not, but Thelma and Louise was a good one. I picked those two. Because you actually kind of think they're going to get away, you expect or something.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Vincennes, which is is Kevin Spacey in L.A. Confidential.
Yep.
Another one of my favorite movies.
Yep. And just so casual, like it was just like, boop, done. He's dead. Like I don't know.
Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction.
Yep.
Let's see. Janet Leigh in Psycho, could have gone with a big classic hitter there.
Yep.
A couple months ago, we did The Big Lebowski. Donnie. I didn't expect Donnie to die. That's kind of, and sad. Tough to take.
Yep.
You see it coming, but still, Ellis in Die Hard. I almost put him on the Pete pick. Val Kilmer in Tombstone, another sad one. Like you want him to make it through there.
To make it through, yep.
Steve Buscemi in Fargo, when you learn he's in the wood chipper.
Yep.
And the last one I have is Jack in Titanic.
Okay.
Because, I mean, come on. You're not going to let him drown and die.
Right.
He did.
Rose, you bitch. So I've got, of course, I have Goose from Top Gun. I've got Tommy from Shawshank Redemption. young guy who knows that Andy's innocent and, goes to the warden and ends up shot. So that one I definitely did not see coming. Chad Feldheimer, Brad Pitt's character in Burn After Reading, was just out of nowhere and real quick, like he was hiding in a closet.
And I saw that one pop up a bunch of times when I was doing my checking, and I watched the movie once, but I don't really remember that at all, so I didn't include him.
Sure.
I just love the gif of him dancing with his headphones. That's one of my favorite gifs.
Yes. Bill Murray in Zombieland playing himself as a zombie, and his death is hilarious, of course. I got Black Widow in Avengers Endgame. That was kind of I did not see that coming, and that was a little rough to take. Patches O'Houlihan from Dodgeball. Kind of an ironic death, if you will. Didn't see that one. How about Danson and Highsmith from the other guys, Samuel L. Jackson and The Rock jumping off the building? You somehow thought they were going to make it.
That well. I've seen it, but I don't know it like.
It's so good. I got some animated ones here. We've got Ellie from Up. She's in the beginning of Up. Yep, that's a tough one. Bambi's mom. Littlefoot's mother in Land Before Time. We also have Russell, Samuel L. Jackson's character in Deep Blue Sea. Quite a fantastic and surprising death.
That's where the shark jumps up and grabs him. Right?
Jumps up, grabs him, drags him back in.
And it's out of nowhere. Like, you don't see that coming.
No, he's giving a big speech or whatever, and then wham, just gets nailed. Halloran from The Shining did not think he was going to get killed in that. So that was a bit of a surprise. And I think the last one, we got Aunt Edna from Vacation. That came out of nowhere. And the last one I have is this guy here from Major League.
Oh, he's dead.
Yes. Did not
cross him off.
Did not see that coming.
They didn't.
No.
He wouldn't have been on the list otherwise.
No, otherwise, you would have not put him on the list in the first place.
Great finish. That should have been one of Pete's honorable mentions, too.
Yeah, probably.
When you proposed that list, I first thought, really? We can't do this. And it turns out that was one of my favorite ones we've done. So,
yes,
well done.
That was a good time, for sure. All right, my man. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We had a hell of a time tonight putting together this one for 1986 Top Gun.
So we're going to take a pretty hard turn next week. We're going to go. So last week when we did our drafts, remember, we didn't draft TV. We're going to do a TV-themed episode next week, a very special episode, if you will.
Yes.
We're going to have Lindsay on again from Children of the 80s, and we're going to talk about TV, but we're going to focus it on our shared love of Garfield, but a lot of other TV stuff too. So if you're not a big Garfield fan, there's plenty more coming in that episode. But there was a very great Garfield special that aired in 1986. And that's the impetus for next week.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, and we are such big Garfield fans that the fact that he hates Mondays, we drop all of our episodes on Mondays just to try to make them a little bit better for everybody.
That is perfect.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Hey, Gifford.
Hey, what?
Do you know what band wins every dick measuring contest they're in?
Yes, I do, and I've lost many times to them. It is Preacher Row.
You got it. All right, 1986, we're off to a hot start. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that you sun is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. Next time, tell me how